is J. Conrad Bacon. I am a supporter of Wadleigh and also a member of District 3's Community Education Council. I'm here today as your co-host of this wonderful, auspicious event. I'm also hosting with my co-host, Mr. Brian Benjamin from Community Board 10 and also founder of Young Professionals for Change. Let's give it up again. I'd like to welcome all our guests today, our elected officials, especially our Borough President, Ms. Gail Brewer, Honorable Gail Brewer. Do you all know why you're here? Yes, we're here to celebrate the renovation of the library. Believe it or not, this library has not been renovated in 14 years. Okay, so the space has been completely redesigned. There's been new equipment, new painting. There's been a grant for new books. It's been completely renovated to support this community, and it's about the students of Wadleigh. The students of Wadleigh, could you just stand up and let's acknowledge the students of Wadleigh? This is a community library, and the Wadleigh campus shares the building with two other schools, particularly Frederick Douglass Academy 2. So if you're from FDA and you're here, please stand up and All right, so we're in the library, and I want you to tell the person next to you, check me out. Tell the person next to you, check me out. All right? We're in the library, so it's important. We're all looking good. We're going to have a great occasion, a great event, I should say. And I just want to turn it over to Mr. Brian Benjamin, who's going to introduce our opening remarks. So once again, welcome, and give yourselves a nice round. Thank you. Let's give Mr. Conrad Bacon a round of applause. My name is Brian Benjamin, born in Harlem, presently serve on the community board, and I first got involved with Wadleigh when there were some of the issues around the school potentially closing. And I live a couple blocks away, and I felt it was important for it to be a generational effort to try to help save Wadleigh and to make sure that Wadleigh will be here for generations to come. And so a group of us young professionals got involved thanks to the help of Mr. Paul McIntosh, who is a legend in my view. And we have been actively involved and want to be a part of the future of the school. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here today. My first introduction is going to be for the principal of Frederick Douglass Academy, Mr. Jose Owusu Afriye. Oh, that's great. Oh, yes, that was a rough one. No, it's good though. It's good. I am Jose Owusu Afriye. I am the principal of Frederick Douglass Academy 2. We are also co-located here on this campus. I want to thank all our elected officials, our President Brewer, the CEC for all your support. That we're actually here. A few years ago, 4 years ago, both schools were slated for closure. And it was through a community effort that we were able to turn that around. So for us to stand here now at this point in this beautiful space, I think it's a testament to what the community can do to save and to prepare our young people for the next level. We do have, I think, the best librarian in the city. He has done such a tremendous job in making sure that the voices of the people in this building are heard and are valued. And I really want to thank you for that, Mr. McIntosh. Growing up, I went to school in Brooklyn, and IS-33 Focus Schuyler, it's in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And from there on, I went to Brooklyn Tech. In both places, the place that I spent my most time was in the library. Right? One of the quotes from our namesake, Frederick Douglass, is that once you learn, you are forever free. Once you learn how to read, you are forever free. And for us to have a space like this, in this campus, is tremendous. We have students studying AP Environmental Science, AP English Literature, African History, and they need a space like this. So the fact that we came together to make this happen, we're all overjoyed. I'm going to be brief because I know we want to hear some of the things the scholars have to say and hear all the wonderful performances and other remarks. But I want to thank you and welcome you to the campus. Next we will have the principal of Wadleigh Secondary School, Mr. Tai Chen.
Okay, so good morning one and all. Good morning. There's a couple people that they didn't recognize, and I'm sure as the day goes through they'll recognize everyone. I will do recognize the contractors and the architects who designed the new space that we're in. I know I gave you guys a real hard time. But as you can see, it came out beautiful, and you know, like everyone said, if it wasn't for Mr. Mack, this would not be what is. It is the best public school library in the entire city. So again, I'd like to give this. Before I even got to Wadleigh, and I'm the new kid on the block, I've only been here for about 2.5 years. Before I came to Wadleigh, I keep telling people, I knew of Mr. Mack before I got here. When the DOE approached me and said, would you like to take over a school that is having some issues and they're struggling, I started trying to figure out exactly why is the school struggling, what is the issue that's going on, and every newspaper clipping, every article I could find, Mr. Mack was right there front and center. And then the next thing that really impressed me was the amount of support that was coming from the community and from the elected officials. So I felt that there must be something to this building, to why it is that there were so many people that was rallying around a school to try and provide the support. And I'm really excited, and this is my plug, that the new mayor has not been going in the direction of the old one about closing schools, because that does not solve our problems. We need to figure out exactly what's going on in the building and solve the problem there. Closing schools is not a solution. So I came in, I found out who this Mr. Mack is. I had to find out who this Mr. Mack is, and I've always used a word that Mr. Mack has always said that kind of really sound like a drum, like drummers drumming their drum. Mr. Mack always said to the students, you stand on the shoulders of giants. And that never meant anything to me until I heard Mr. Mack sing. At this point, he's one of the hardest working person in the building, and I will even let you know that Mr. Mack is going to teach a poetry class for us next year. But again, I'll be brief because I know you guys are not here to listen to me. I could talk all day if you allow me to, but I know you guys are here to celebrate the greatness. And the best part of the entire thing is that we have elected officials that are actually running against each other but still come out to support the greatness that our students are doing. So again, thank you guys for coming.
The third person who actually open remarks is someone who I actually have to preface because I'm actually humbled that I get the honor to introduce this brother. When I first heard of Wadleigh, I heard of Paul McIntosh. First name is Librarian Paul McIntosh. And I don't know about many of you, but I can't remember a lot of librarians over my lifetime who I knew more than the principal of the school. But this brother here has been a rock. And you know, some of you know him a lot longer than I have. But he's the one who's inspired me to get so involved in Wadleigh because he's so committed, and I feel like he just sucks everyone in and brings us all together for the love of kids and love of the future of our neighborhood of Harlem. And he supports all of us, not only the students, but some of us younger folks, and gives us encouragement. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And so I think we should all give him a stand up. Dr. Paul Mack. Thank you.
Mr. Mack, I just want to make sure you are welcomed and introduced properly. Gentlemen, we just give him a nice drum game for you.
Felt as if I was back in the motherland. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is muddied with blood and dust and pain. It is not the critic who counts. We struggle because there's no progress without error and mistakes. I share those words written by Teddy Roosevelt. And his charge was to dare greatly. And what we try and do in the village of Wadleigh is to inspire and encourage young brothers and sisters, young men, to dare greatly. In this very space, we provided opportunities for the young people in the village of Wadleigh to meet men and women who have dared greatly. In this very space, we've had Cornel West. We've had Dr. Lynn Holden. We've had Dr. Khalil Gibran Muhammad. We've had Ruben Studdard. We've had Luis Reyes Rivera. We've had Brother Michael Reverend Walton. So what we try to do in the village of Wadleigh is to encourage and inspire young ladies and young men to dare greatly. Having said that, I have the privilege of just acknowledging some individuals who are the architect of this space. And I don't want to miss anybody, but I know in the tradition out of which I come, it's always proper to acknowledge the elders. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me for just a second, because there's a lady who is 91 years old, who got on the subway at the back end, well, the upper end of Manhattan, 93 years old, and came down here yesterday because she wanted to make sure that she was here for this occasion. And she graduated from Wadleigh in 1940. It was all good. So we just have to honor our elders, and we begin by paying homage to this elder who is 91 years old. I'm going to resist the urge to
What is her name?
just hug her and to thank her for the sanctity of her spirit. Because Wadleigh has a legacy. And it is a legacy which sought to say to young people, you should dare greatly. And we have to uphold that legacy. That is why we're here. So the elders, and I may not be able to call all of you by name, but I want to at least gesture to you. You here, can you please just stand? Just the elders.
My name is Nancy Ron. I'm 84, going to be 85.
I'm going to ask you just to bear with me for just a minute because I need to just shout out some people who made this happen. And principal among them is Mr. Marisola. Could you just... And Mr. O'Neill, just yesterday, there was a young lady who expressed an interest in becoming an architect. And I had said to him in anecdotal conversation, he and his wife, that at some point in time, I'd like to see if you could come and speak to some young ladies and young men in this village. But it just so happens that there's a young lady, there she is right there. She wants to be an architect. So we put her in contact with Mr. O'Neill, and forgive me, I don't remember all the associates. Mr. Green. Mr. Green? Mr. Green, so thank you. Here's a lady that I had an extended conversation with, which had nothing to do with the job, about Gabriel Garcia Marquez. We were talking about him. Claudia Gerardo. She was one of the individuals who helped to make this happen. We want to thank you for that. I could mention a number of people in this room, and I understand that I will probably get an occasion to do that later on. But I want individuals to know that one of the other individuals whose voice has been so profound in the village of Wadleigh in terms of just trying to help us be the best that we can possibly be has been Mr. Plummer. Before we continue, I understand that I'll have a minute towards the end to acknowledge some other people, but I just want to say one thing, and then we can move on. Because it speaks to our essence as a people, and our essence with respect to what we really try and do in this space. So just bear with me for a second. I happened to be listening to a sermon, and this particular minister was talking about being a miracle in someone's life. And being a miracle in someone's life simply means that if you're feeling down, I might come over and say to you, my brother, I hope you're doing fine. Can I help you with something? Being a miracle in someone's life might simply mean if you're having difficulty doing the schoolwork that I can help you with it. Being a miracle means that you just treat people with love and respect and decency. And that's something that we all can do. So what we try and do in this space is to let young brothers and sisters know that they can be a miracle in somebody's life. If we can embrace that, we can change the world. So I implore you, and I thank all of you for being here. I don't think, if those words that have been used to describe me are accurate, they have nothing to do with Paul McIntosh. They have something to do with the spirit out of which we come. the spirits which allowed our ancestors to survive the Middle Passage and to stand here. The spirit which allowed us to survive Bull Connor. The spirit which allowed us to, in spite of it all, be people of love and dignity and spirit. So I thank all of you. You know, my brother, Mr. Klug, shut my mouth. This individual stood pat and everything that we tried to do in this library. And I would be remiss also if I didn't mention Mr. Cambria. When Mr. Cambria taught here, he taught a social studies class, and he was always here embracing whatever we tried to do in this space. So, as I shut my mouth, I'm just reminded of something that the Seneca Indian said. Those who would attempt to do great things must not attempt them alone. So we attempt to do great things in this space. So it's important for us to realize that we should never attempt to do them alone. If anything affirms our children, our people, it is us coming together to attempt to do great things collectively. Have you said that?
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh, for those great words of encouragement. And some of you didn't get the check me out joke at all. So we're in a library, and you hit a library, you check out books. You check out books, you tell the person, check me out. Some of you didn't. You know, I don't know what happened when you said it was important, but nobody got it. Check out the books, you check me out. It's okay. Can we give a nice warm acknowledgement to our band that's provided? So if you don't know, now you know, we'll know that Wadleigh is the premier institution for performing and visual arts in Harlem and throughout the city, okay? And there's a tremendous amount of talent and skills and so much triumph in this school and in these students. So we want to recognize and quickly have a performance by Mr. Emmanuel Rivas. He's going to do a flute solo to kind of give you all a taste of what it's like to be in this creative school called Wadleigh. So I'm going to bring up, if you could just warmly welcome Mr. Emmanuel Rivas. He's under the direction of Ms. Rosalind White, the director of the music program here. Can we give her?
Today he will be performing Capriccio Italian by Tchaikovsky and then American Patrol by Michu.
Yes. not easy to stand up here in front of you guys. Let's give him another round of applause for that. Our next speaker doesn't really need an introduction, but I guess he has to get one. Reverend Michael Warren Jr. Is a builder. He is a man of God. He is my pastor. He's a lot of our pastors. He serves the community. He built a church from 300 to over 9,000 folks. Spiritual learning happens at First Corinthian Baptist Church. And that is under the guidance of our pastor, Reverend Michael A. Warren Jr.
Good afternoon. I have to say this, and I want to thank Principal Chen, whose leadership and direction here at Wadleigh is amazing. I also want to, again, and we've done it, but I want to do this because of the kind of man he is, the role he plays, not just in Wadleigh, but in this community. I remember reading a line from Malcolm X's eulogy as it was given by Ossie Davis, and he said, if you knew him, speaking of Malcolm, he said, you would know why we must honor him. And if you know Paul McIntosh, then you know why we have to honor him for who he is and for what he means to this community and this school. He may be back there working with kids, but I think it is worthy of us just giving him another hand. I come today as a pastor of First Corinthian Baptist Church. We have a long-standing partnership with Wadleigh, and not just in idea or name, but substantively. We have some strong persons who work. Christina Dozier in the past. Eddie Davis. Countless others I see, but those two were at the forefront of the kind of work and engaging work with this school and pushed me to even further engage in more substantive ways. And so I'm grateful for them, I'm grateful for this institution. And today we've just come, I'm just going to be very brief, we've come to honor the unveiling of this new space. It's amazing how different libraries are from even when I was young. I was explaining this to my son, he just graduated from Morehouse this past Sunday. And I was telling him how different libraries are. I said, you don't even know what card catalog is. Dewey Decimal System. He has no idea what that is. But spaces like this and people like Mr. McIntosh are important because Mr. McIntosh embodies, I think, the best of what we hope to be. Persons who believe in young people, who desire to empower young people in transformative ways. And the beautiful thing is that for many persons who are here today, in many ways we come to honor the dedication of a library, but today I come to honor the dedication of an incubator, a space that has shaped and will continue to shape countless young people in this community. And we need more spaces like this with more people like Mr. McIntosh leading it, because our young people have to be able to be well versed in the art of dreaming again. And so many of our young people how to dream. And thank God for spaces like this, for leadership like Mr. McIntosh, who can empower the next generation of leaders, the next generation of thinkers, the next generation of poets, and it can take place from this space right here. I believe that wholeheartedly because sometimes people think that the enormity of one's outcome is connected to the enormity of their beginning. And so often the enormity of one's outcome is connected to spaces just like this that harness the best of our possibility and the best of who we are so that we can then begin to impact and change the world in meaningful ways. That's the business God has called me to be in, the kind of business to empower people. And when I meet a fellow person like Paul who does this kind of work, I'm always excited. And so today we celebrate. We don't just celebrate a space because this is brick and mortar, but we celebrate the spirit of this space. And those who have come through and those who will come through will be touched. Because sometimes all it takes is one person to believe in a space like this. When I was 14 years old, I was put in at-risk youth program because of my suspensions, my issues, right? And I was given up on by many students. In fact, the counselor, one of my guidance counselors told me that I was not college material. And it was a person in my life like Paul who believed in me, who spoke into me, and who introduced me to ideas and to writers and to things I never had been introduced to before. And I remember he would tell me to meet him at the local library. And I hated the library because I wasn't really the greatest student. But he told me to meet him here. And I remember asking this man, I said, why are we going to the library? He said, because today we're going to go to Africa. Another occasion he told me to meet him. I said, why are we going to the library? He said, because today we're going to the Harlem Renaissance. I said, why the library? Another case, he said, because today I'm going to introduce you to yourself. That's what these spaces are for. That from these spaces, this space is a launching pad to investigating the world, to encountering things you only heard about, but now you get to see and touch. And then not only to become nostalgic about it, because libraries are not citadels of nostalgia. Nostalgia is the enemy of hope. I say that all the time. Because we get so caught up in what was, we don't think about what can be. And it's spaces like this that push us to who we can be, what we can be, to transform this community, transform this city, transform this world. And so today is a celebration of ideas. Today is a celebration of dreams. Today is a celebration of possibility. Today is a celebration of the opportunity to meet yourself again for the first time. I lead a community, in every evolving community, of visionaries and dreamers. I believe the world is changed by visionaries and dreamers. People who are fearful and who are steeped in cowardice do not change the world. But visionaries and dreamers change the world. I was told something when I was a student at Morehouse. It goes like this: no vision and you perish. No ideal and you are lost. Your heart must ever cherish some goal at every cost, some hope, some dream to cling to, some service that is high, some melody to sing to, and seeing yourself in the next new eye. We must continue to dream. This is a blessing that will give birth to the new dreams in this community. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Warren, and thank you, let's give him that was a wonderful encouragement. We're asking everyone to be encouraged. I'm going to call Mr. Malik Gale to just come and talk. Students at Wadleigh. What grade are you in, Lee? He's a senior, getting ready to move on and do some great things. And following Pastor Waller's speech about the students and how important it is, we just want to have a reflection from Malik about what this library means to him. Thank you.
The hardest thing I've done is follow a pastor. So. Life is a book. There's only a finite number of chapters, and some seem to be long epics that just don't seem to end, and some end way too fast. Some have like amazing struggles where you need to know what happens next, and some are still these textbooks right here. But there's one difference between a book and life. We write the story.
Yeah.
And I know there might be some plot twists, grammar errors, whatever, that might just like throw you off the path, but you are the one to decide if you're gonna push on to the next grade chapter or not. And everyone in this room is going to the next grade chapter. Some greater than others, but we're still moving forward.
Yeah.
Even this room that's been here for more than 100 years has changed with the nights, the days, the chapters, the seasons, the gum and books, and the guest speakers, the good and the bad. But what's a story without a plot twist? It keeps you ready for what's gonna happen next. It keeps you on edge, but it also keeps you worried about what's gonna happen next. Whether you find the right job, find the right person, not working at McDonald's unless that's what you want. I don't just but Sometimes it might feel like the book's gonna close on you before you even got a chance to have a say. And whenever you feel like that, I want you to stop and think of your favorite novel hero and how different the world would be if they didn't step up and go against what was taking them down. You're that hero to someone else. Give them one hell of a story to read.
That's our future. That's right, Mr. Miguel. That's what we're investing in. That's why we're here in this library. That's where we're striving in this community. That's why we're willing and ready to turn things around at Wadleigh because of the potential and promise of these students. So let's give it up for them. Yes. So coming up next, we're also going to give another great display of the wonderful talent here at Wadleigh. We're going to be presenting the Wadleigh Secondary School of Performing and Visual Arts Choir. I'm just asking some of your finalists. Everyone can kind of shift over, and there's 60 members strong, so this is going to get real powerful in here. So let's be ready and let's welcome the Wadleigh Choir. Thank you.
I love you too much. So while they're coming in, I'm going to just talk to you for a little bit. My name is Miss Walton. I've been here since 2008. I'm Mr. Cambria. We have grown immensely since I started. I think I had about 20 students. And last week we had a concert on Friday night and we had over 70 up on stage. This is not all of us now. It was prom last night, so we got here as we could. But Reverend Waldron, hi Mr. Klug, I'm happy to see you. He was just talking about visionaries, and we have wonderful students here doing great things. When Mr. Chin first came to the school, I don't even know if he remembers, but he told me, Miss Walton, we have to go from good to great. And I took that seriously. And this year, well, not only have we grown in number, but we had 2 Carnegie Hall performances. We've been singing all over the city. So I know it's a little squishy, and I could have just picked 1 or 2 soloists, but I thought for an occasion like this, it's important for you all to see what we are doing here at the school, because it's fantastic. For the first song, we have Melissa Lynchafort and Sade Johnson on percussion. That's the A class. Ready, soprano? 1, 2, 3.
Baba
have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its dream. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream that all of God's children, black and white, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Sleep tonight, and in your dreams be realized. If the thunder clouds
week, Clark Atlanta University kept calling my phone every single day saying that they're coming to New York City and they heard about the quiet and they would not leave New York unless they got a chance to meet them. So they came to the school. So we're all the way down in North Carolina, South Carolina. We're going to take over the entire country. Something that Walton doesn't know, and I'm going to publicly announce it, there are days, and every principal knows these days, where you really put everything you own in your bag and you say, okay, that's it, I'm done. And whenever I get those days, Miss Walton doesn't know it, but whenever I get those days, I walk up 5th period to the 4th floor, and I sit in a room, and that reminds me why I'm doing this job.
Wow, I'm still feeling that. I have a quick bone to pick before we move on because, we were trying to plan the logistics and I said, oh, we have a choir. That's great because we also have a reverend. So what we could do is have the choir go and have the reverend. No, we're not going to do anything spiritual. That was, so I'm sorry, Pastor. But we have also with us a woman who is the borough president. I remember when she was running for borough president, and I didn't know her so well. And one of the things people do, you ask people, well, what do you think about the borough president race? And one of the things I kept hearing about Gail Brewer is that she cares. She will be there. She will be there. Okay, guys. She will be there before the election, but she'll also be there the day after the election, making sure that the community she serves gets the resources that it needs. And herself, along with the other council members, our Councilmember Inez Dickens, and others, are the reason why $1 million+ was put in the kitty for this library dedication. And so, on behalf of the city, we have our own borough president, Gail Brewer, here, and we want to thank you all.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor to be here. I want the Reverend to know I got kicked out of brownies. I talked back to the person who was telling us what to do, and I've been talking back ever since. What's great about today, I think, is the history of Wadleigh. Some of us remember, like Mr. Plummer, Veronica Perry, who was the person who fought for this school in the 1980s. Her children went here, and then, unfortunately, when they went off to another school, one of them was killed. We remember her fight for Wadleigh. And so, what's so special is the history of this school. The history of this school is one in which it has always celebrated African American culture. It has always been a place of excellence. And I want to thank Inez Dickens, because I have to say she was the one amongst many who fought really, really hard to make sure that this building stayed open to public schools. And for this quality between the library and the arts, not to mention the quality of the principals and the teachers, and the fact that the community comes together. Wadleigh has always meant community. Wadleigh has always meant young and old, community and students, community and parents coming together. So to see this library and to see this quality of the arts, I always love the story with seniors coming to me saying, Gail, I have to live in this senior building because I have a mental health condition. I said, what's your mental health condition? I have to be near Lincoln Center so I can hear the music. And I say that because without music, without the arts, we cannot have quality mental health. So the fact that this school celebrates the arts and makes it a prime focus will make all the other subjects come alive. So I'm just here to celebrate with you. I'm going to do more from our office, and we're here to say that whether it is quality education, community input, the arts, the library, Mr. McIntosh talked about love and spiritual. He has another asset, which he didn't tell you about, which is that he is an advocate. He's keeping in the heart as he needs to be. And if you don't advocate, with all due respect to spiritual and being in love, if you don't push and you don't advocate, you don't fight, then all that, in my opinion, doesn't come forward. So he is all three combined in one. Because every time I see him, he talks about the school and the library and all of you. And that is a real leader in my book. So congratulations to everyone. I look forward to coming back to the library, but also look forward to pushing for real public education like at Wadleigh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Borough President Brewer. We are really privileged to have you here to encourage us and to encourage young people in the community of Wadleigh. So we just have Okay, we're gonna have a spoken word performance by Mr. Tyshawn Brown. Is Mr. Tyshawn Brown here? Okay, so we're gonna have a spoken word presentation by Miss Elisa Lady Logic Saunders.
Hello all. When the Reverend said poet, I was like, hey. Alright, this poem that I'm about to read to you is about not only where I'm from, but where I know a lot of people are from, but mainly, even though I picked a specific place, it's about all the homelands. Gladiators fight for honor, to honor their sword, their land, their people. These Roman warriors battle both blood and border like natural instinct. They bury pain and drown their sword in a hope and promise of 1,000 Pax Romanus. They make their bruises tattoos and heartbreaks kills and spill blood for their honor, their peace, their sport. The Colosseum is where it becomes a game. This Coliseum is more than a colossal building. It's Brooklyn. The top of the stadium be Barclays. Gates is someone's home. It's all our homes. Gates be where they can't trap us like jail, but hug us like mother. This is not war. This is homeland. The people we love. The people who fight by our side. This isn't a bloodbath. It's Red Hook, where I spent my childhood, where I got into my first fight in front of 161st and Bush Street and came back on Lorraine and won my first fight. We are gladiators. Our projects are seen as barracks, where they keep Section 8 like chamber, like McDonald's, like Burger King, like chicken spot for the serfs. Never seen a Whole Foods in the hood, but see the whole hood in Whole Foods. Like home after street corners become bed. Never see the king with serfs, with kingdom, but the serf being Crown Heights, sabotage monarchy, crown like fetus, crown like first time opening eyes to life, like fingers on the sport. I mean basketball, shooting life, I mean hoops. Love them hoops. Love look like bedside at night, not bullets. It looks like pain, look like beat feel like almost but never got me. Tag you're it, run before you get jumped in Brownsville. Don't get robbed in Saratoga. Don't tell me about my borough when your steps are newborn here. This isn't the work of Caesar, this is my Brooklyn Bridge, our Brooklyn Bridge. I am a warrior, we deserve castle, not hut. We deserve coliseums, not colossal destruction. Stop trying to reconstruct my mind to build tombstone spines and RIPs in my hood to profit off of these games. This ain't no war. This is Target. This is my hood you're breaking. This isn't Sparta, it's sacrifice. It's that condominium where our daycare was. It's our territory. I mean bullets, I mean government, I mean jail, I mean these fingers, our spears, catapulting towards our home. Oh.
Lady Logic. Wadleigh and Brooklyn in the Mr. Tyson Brown, please welcome him.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Just before I start, there's some things that I wanted to share with you, which is background of my poetry. And when I started writing poetry, the first poem that I ever got published was about my mother. Me and my mother had some complications in our relationship, so after that, I felt like I didn't ever want to write poetry again until Elisa brought me to Mr. McIntosh, and he started to talk to me about certain things. And the library, even before it was finished, helped me out so much because just the conversations that I had with him in this little small office got me back into my poetry. And now my poetry will be out in the next book over the summer. So that's phenomenal to me. And I'm like, one person. I want to say thank you, and I've heard so many stories about how he's helped change young people's lives, and I was like, oh yeah, well that's nice, da da da. But I really didn't get it until I noticed how he helped me change my life. So I'm grateful for that. I just want to say thank you. This piece is entitled "Pain Never Goes on Lunch." Never been in a shelter, maybe only low on food. They always said, man, you got it good, dude. What they did not understand was the pain deep within. The feelings of the past tried to take over my life, always making me feel like I was the cause of this misery and strife. I always thought that I was the main cause. I always had a way of being the bully's main course. So I look back and I said, why have I never been the best? Somebody tell me who's playing chess, because I feel like I'm mistreated a little pawn. Tell me, will I ever see the break of my dawn? Or what made my mom leave? Be honest, no lies. Questions still linger. Why? Tell me why. I was always looked down on. I've tried drinking, smoking, trust. You don't know half of what I've been through. I've been through too much. I've always felt like the outcast of the Brady Bunch. Like a rerun of a TV show that was canceled many years ago. What happened to families singing, yes, Jesus loves me, for the Bible tells me so. We've made technological advances. We can even put a man in space, but we can't take time to put food on a homeless man's plate. We're even able to clone chromosomes of an embryo that's not yet born, but find it more profitable to kick people out in the streets rather than to help them stay in their homes. I think Marvin Gaye penned the best in his song when he said, what's going on? I just wanted to bring these points to your attention. Wait a minute, I forgot to mention. Teen pregnancy is on the rise. Kids killing kids and just want to get high. What is it? Why is it that there are more jails being built than schools? Looking like we're raising up a nation of fools. I remember I learned my first math lesson at home. Now you have babies raising babies. My, we have more grown folks gone. I know what I know, and that's pretty much. Let your mind, body, and soul keep in touch. And remember this phrase, pain never goes on lunch.
There's so much talent here in Wadleigh, so much Not only give our musicians a chance to just be in the spirit and give us a quick selection before we move on. We're almost near the close of the program, but if you will, they've been back there in this warm room, and we're privileged to have such a distinguished group of musicians. Let's give it up for the But the name of the group is called Ancestral Music. Oh, there we go. Let's get some ancestral music then. That is ancestral music, and your name again is? Shep Hetep. Shep Hetep. Let's give it up for. Thank you all again for being here. We have a couple more minutes. I just want to bring to attention another wonderful thing that goes on here at Wadleigh under the direction of Mr. Paul McIntosh. The past several years, Mr. McIntosh has compiled and edited 6 anthologies of poetry. All right, that's produced by the students of Wadleigh. If you bring your attention to the room, I think we've got 4 of them up here, but there are 5 books. The 6th one is getting ready to come out, I think, either this summer or the beginning of next semester. But the most recent one is called May Our Words Honor You. These are all authentic poems by the students of Wadleigh. It really speaks to what's going on in their lives and in the community. We ask that you support. The books are $15 each. And monies that are raised help produce the next book that's coming out, which is called The River of Our Words, correct?
Exactly. I'd like to add something. Not only do these books feature the work of Wadleigh students, they also feature the work of prominent published poets. Our first book, which was published in 2003, featured the work of Amiri Baraka. In fact, he wrote the introduction. Subsequently, we had Abidun Ayuele, Luis Reyes Rivera. There's a Mexican poet out of California who won the PEN Prize for fiction, was published in Faces in the Mirror. So not only do you have the work of brothers and sisters in this school, you have the work of published poets. And we thought that we would try and create that landscape, because if burgeoning poets are in the company of established poets, that would encourage and inspire them. So not only do you get the poets of Wadleigh, you get poets that you read about in books and other anthologies. So I just wanted to say that.
I don't know about you guys, but we've had a wonderful morning. Can we just... I'm delighted to be in the company of so many distinguished parents and elected officials and civic leaders and religious leaders, and we're just grateful for your presence here. We're going to ask to close, or to get ready to close, that you help us do a declaration of the library. And after each statement, we just ask that you very loudly and firmly pronounce and say, "We do." Okay, and then this is how we're going to dedicate our library. So we're going to start it off, or I will start it off. I have to acknowledge my co-host, Mr. Brian Benjamin, again. Wadleigh and the community of Wadleigh is all about community service, and Mr. Benjamin is a tremendous service to the community. But here goes, our dedication of the reopening of the Wadleigh Library. And it's a little long, but please listen. We, the students, staff, teachers, and community stakeholders of the entire Wadleigh campus declare to honor and pay homage to the great tradition of academic, civic, and arts excellence at this Wadleigh school by our ancestors and the elders who sacrificed, persevered, and opened new doors so this library could serve and meet the student needs of this community.
We declare that the Wadleigh Campus Library is a critical repository of our community's intellectual wealth, and that it fosters both excellence and equity in education by promoting competency in new technologies and cultivating the scholarly talents of all those daring to dream of new possibilities. We do.
we declare and promise to respect, preserve, and retain the Wadleigh campus library and everything within it as a hallowed center for academic excellence, student achievement, intellectual enrichment, and community support.
We do. We declare. I was showing you something. We declare to work together as a united community to ensure that the Wadleigh Campus Library, under the direction of librarian Paul McIntosh and all librarians following, serves as an example of how dedicated service, integrity, and a commitment to lifelong learning leads to the betterment of our community.
We do. And finally, we declare to be thankful for this new Wadleigh campus library renovation and all those involved in this improvement, and reopen it now as a shining cornerstone of all of our student community and what we can do when we come together. Thank you. And we gotta say, we do. So I'm going to let Mr. Mack close with a few acknowledgments of our staff and teachers and everybody that was involved. And there are refreshments for all of you. Please stay with us for a little bit and share your experiences and introduce yourselves to the student and our distinguished alumni and our elders and all the people here. We're just grateful and look forward to everyone working within our community here.
You have the last word.
Excuse me, our borough president is leaving.
I'll just say, my name is Troy Outlaw. I'm from Councilmember Diggins' office, and I also bring greetings from the state building from all our elected officials who are able to put in the funds and also help stop the closing of the school. Assemblyman Keith Wright, Senator Bill Perkins, and Congressman Charles Ring. Thank you.
As we depart and go over to the other side of the room to partake of refreshments, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, and I hope I don't forget anybody, I would be remiss if I didn't mention those individuals who worked tirelessly to get this space in order. But before I do that, I just have to give another shout out to Reverend Wadleigh. When we talk about soldiers who stood and were uncompromising in support of this school, I have to thank him. So again, sir, and of course it is Davis. But there's some people here that I just have to mention. Miss Davis, in fact, we were here. Here till all hours of the night trying to just get this in order. Then there's a brother on the first floor, Mr. Ron Jabardali, who you didn't get some of the artwork is here, but he is one of those forces which helps to shape the genius of our young brothers and sisters. Mr. J. Now this school is sitting there. You have to acknowledge this. Also, we have present today members of the NAUW, the National Association of University Women, and the NAACP, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Porter. When we get a chance just to kind of, as they say, chill out a little bit, I'm hoping that you'll get a chance to talk to Mr. Plummer, so you'll get a fuller sense of the kinds of things that he's doing to edify our young people. Ms. Johnson, who taught at this school a number of years. You know, I thank all of you. I thank all of you, the young people. We have to applaud the young people. Miss Doja, Christina Doja.
Oh, that's
Another thing, I can't shut my mouth until I mention this. I can't call you by name. We have an intergenerational presence of Wadleigh here. Mr. Evers, a number of others. I don't know who all of you are, but there are a number of people who graduated from Wadleigh and have come back to this space because they consider it safe. Again, as we leave, and forgive me if I haven't mentioned to everybody, we have a presence here from New Visions. So we'd like to and lastly, as we come full circle, this brother who's standing here with the camera. Jeff Mays writes for DNA New York, and I was just saying to him yesterday, as we soldier on and try and stand pat and fast against the forces which seek to oppress and overturn what we try to do through the power of the pen, he's been a voice that has been incomparable, and we have to thank you for that. JL, this brother did a poetry program here this past semester. We're going to repeat it. We're going to reprise it in September. So we have to thank all of that. I know this phrase trying to walk out, but oh, of course, Miss Braxton B. Miss B from Community Affairs with the Mayor's Office. From the Mayor's Office.
Yes, unfortunately the mayor wasn't able to attend, but because of his presence and the excitement that he was, that he had about having the library open, the energy that he did put in to making sure that the school was, sustainable, that he did want to send representation. So that's why I'm here. I am the new Manhattan Borough Director, so you will be seeing more of me in the community.
I don't know if Miss Braxton Deal is here, but she's the secretary of the school. This is her husband. Miss Braxton Deal has been another voice that has been unwavering in the support of what we try to do in this space. So again, all we ask is that you try and be a miracle in somebody's life. And that you say to our young brothers and sisters, our children, that they should strive greatly. If we do that, we can change this world. So I thank you.